What's happening, family? Dr. Joe, another edition of the Transformation Lab. For those of you who've never seen this content here at Journey Life TV, 4 Days with Dr. Joe, be it the 4-day turn up and or the Journey 3.0 Plus, where it's two of the world's greatest transformational processes. Here in the Transformational Lab, we take the time to break down different nuances of the process to show people that when a person's losing weight, that it's not the pounds, it's connected to spiritual, mental, emotional, as well as physical components as well. We use this particular medium as a way to break those things down. So for those of you who are transforming or desire to transform, you can have perspective as you move forward. Now, if you look at the picture that you see attached to this, shout out to Carnesha. She's down 100 pounds. She's a recent butterfly, which means she not only has graduated the 4-day turn up, but she's come out of the Journey 3.0 process, and she's 100 pounds down. Clearly based upon the picture, she started at 255.2. She's now down to 196. She started back in October of 21. She finished in April of 2020. So she had lost, probably about 30, 40 pounds before she started the process, which a lot of people do. A lot of people start off in the process not having lost any weight. Some people lose 30, 40 pounds and they come through the process and they lose even more. But for this particular transformational lab, I want to shout out to Carnesha. That's a great accomplishment, one that I have been able to accomplish myself, so I know how she feels, as well as many, many other people who come through the process. So shout out to her. That's a great monumental change. But in this transformational lab, I want to break down the 4 phases of weight loss, because this is very, very important. All original content. And when I break down each phase, I'm going to give a name to each of those phases, or what I call them, as well as numerically what that means in terms of how much weight, so you can kind of follow me. Phase 1 of weight loss is what I call the excitement stage. This is the first 10% of your body weight that you lose. And I call it excitement because when you start losing weight, despite whatever eating regimen, nutritional profile you follow, it really doesn't matter. But what in that first stage, or the excitement phase of weight loss, it is you lose the most amount of weight in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. And this first phase is about the first 10% of your body weight. So let's say, for instance, you're 250 pounds. That's that first 25 to 30 pounds. If you're 200 pounds, that first 20 to 25 pounds thereabout. I'm roughing it. I call it the exciting stage because when people start losing weight, when you make small changes, you don't have to even make huge changes. It's almost like the least effort, you get the biggest results. And that is why that first phase is called the excitement stage, because you're excited. You're seeing the scale go down. It's working. You've been doing it for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. And that's all great because we all have to start in this phase. But the thing about phase 1, or the excitement stage, is although you lose the most amount of weight with the least amount of effort, it is the most temporal phase there is. Meaning what? Even though you've lost the most, it means the least in the grand scheme of things. It does not mean that what you've done is unimportant, but what it means is if you settle for that, all right, you're going to go right back. This is why a lot of people yo-yo, because they never get out of the first phase. They never understand the other phases that I'm going to explain to you in this transformational lab, or the phases of weight loss, all right, because most people don't look at it like this. It's great when you start out and you're losing weight. You're seeing the pounds leave you. However, it is the phase that we're most excited and we become addicted to it. You get on the scale and you see that scale going down and you're just kicking flips. And a lot of people become content in the first stage. And what happens is when you hear me talking about robbing the bank robbers are individuals who don't settle for phase 1, but they keep on going. They keep on getting everything to maximize what they're dealing with. All right. So the reason why I'm using Carnesha is because she's gone through all of these stages, and I'm going to break each of them down. So that first phase is called the excitement phase. Phase 2 is what I call the turbulence, or the turbulent phase or turbulence, however you want to look upon that. And you've heard of turbulence. When you're on a plane, the plane begins to rock. And when the plane begins to rock and you're in the air, the plane either goes down or it goes up. The key is not if it goes down or up, but what is the plane doing? The plane is what? Adjusting. All right. Once we get out of phase one, or the excitement phase, we move into the turbulent stage. This is when most people give up because it becomes rocky. And the key to the turbulent stage is it's in this stage that you're figuring your body out. There's no diet in the world. There's no dietitian in the world. There's no nutritional profile in the world that if everyone does the same thing, you're going to get the same results. Yes, there are some things that all of us need to do to get results. But at the end of the day, we're all unique beings. And it means that when you get out of that excitement stage and that weight loss begins to slow down, the difference between phase one and phase two is this. Phase one, least amount of effort, most amount of weight. Phase two, I'm exercising more effort, but I'm getting fewer results. Most people mentally can't deal with that, and they'll throw in the towel if they're not guided accordingly or sufficiently, or if they aren't with the right person who can help give them context. That's the reason why I'm going over this with many of you who are either in the process with me or you're not. It doesn't matter, because we want these transformational labs to be ideologies and concepts that all of us can learn from who are trying to change. You see, when you get into the turbulent stage and what you've been doing stops working, that's when people give up because they feel, oh, I'm just reaching a ceiling. I'm hitting a plateau. It's in my genes. Everybody in my family was big bone. The reason why I know this is because I've been there. No. The turbulent phase is the phase that you have to learn your body. You have to understand through trial and error what works for you. Some people have different types of metabolisms, and when you come through the process, I explain and break all of this down. Some people break down fats better than they break down carbohydrates. It does not mean that you abandon fats or abandon carbohydrates, but the way things are balanced has to be different because you're working out the turbulence. And see, what happens is when you stick with it, and you're in the turbulent stage and you learn your body, even though you're putting in more effort for slower results, but you're still seeing results. And that's what keeps you in the race. All right. That phase two is probably for a 250-pound person. If phase one is 20 to 25 pounds, I would say the turbulent phase is about 25 to 50 pounds. And it'll probably take you twice as long in phase two to lose 25 pounds than to lose the first 25 pounds. That's how weight loss is, all right? It's not just linearly down, but it kind of comes up and it comes down. But that first 10% is the biggest drop in the shortest amount of time. All right, phase three is what I call the red or the blue pill. This is key. I know, original content. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. The red or the blue pill comes back to Matrix for those of you who've seen it. Neo, who was Keanu Reeves, he had a choice. Take the red pill or take the blue pill. All right. If you take the blue pill, you'll continue to remain in this state of being where you don't know what's going on. But if you take the red pill, you'll be given the truth. You'll see what's going on. Now, the reason why I call it the red or the blue pill or phase three is because it's in this phase where people subconsciously make a choice. When people are losing weight, you'll have some who gain it back. You'll have some that continue to move forward. It's because those individuals subconsciously make a choice. They either take the red pill or they take the blue pill. It's in phase three that you determine the future of your health and wellness, that you determine the future of if you're going to gain the weight back, that you determine the future of if you're going to keep on losing weight. And some people gain the weight back and some people don't, because it's in this stage that determines that. The key to phase three is your consistency with what you've been doing in phase one and two. The hardest part is not phase one starting. The hardest part is when you get into phase two, the turbulent stage, and you've got to work through the difficulties of what I've been doing is not working. I have to stick with it. I can't give up. Maybe my weight is not coming off as precipitously as I want, but I did not throw in the towel. I was able to figure out how I needed to exercise, how I needed to balance my meals, how I needed to do this, how I needed to do that, and I never gave up. I continued to get results. It's in phase three that you're literally laying the foundation of what you're going to do for the rest of your life. All right. These are the individuals, ladies and gentlemen, who, when you see them a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I've had people come through with me 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they're lighter now than they were then. Why? It's because in this stage, they made an agreement with themselves. They made an agreement to be what? Consistent, to not give up, even when they had difficulties, all right? Things of that nature. Phase 3 of the red or the blue pill is, I would say, that 50 to 75 pound mark. And that's based upon a person who's 250 pounds, all right? I'm working off of percentages just to make it easy. I know this is social media, and I'm not trying to make these videos too long, but still want to be thorough in my approach in trying to go through all phases, you see. So phase 1, excitement, all right? Least amount of effort, most amount of weight loss. Phase 2, turbulence, all right? Most amount of effort, least amount of results. It's antithetical, I know. Phase 3 is when you make a choice of consistency. Now, people who come through the 40-day turn-up, all right, those individuals who come through that first process are individuals more than likely are going to go out of phase 1 into phase 2. But the people who come out of the journey are the individuals who will probably be around phase 3. All right, and I'm just roughing it. People are different because, you know, the longer you are in a transformational process, or the longer you are working on yourself, or the longer, for those of you who come through the 40-day turn-up, and even if you don't go through the journey, you stick with it. It doesn't matter if you're in the journey or if you're not. If you stick with it, the longer you're doing it, the more you are graduating or matriculating through these phases. That's the reason why I don't call it a program. Programs start and they end. A process is something that's ongoing. We have to instill that seed in our mind, like Carnesha, that this is something that I'm continuing to do. Now, let me tell you the 4th stage, and then I'll wrap things up. The 4th stage is what I call rebirth, and this is key. All of them are sequential. You got to have excitement, phase 1, then turbulence, phase 2, all right, then red and blue pill, phase 3, and then phase 4 is the rebirth. The reason why I say phase 4 is the rebirth is because it's in this stage when you become reborn. This is when you change as a person. When you walk around here and you see folks that have lost massive amounts of weight, all right? And I'll give caveats to that because it does not apply to everyone. When you see individuals who lost 60, 70, 80, 90, like Carnesha, shout out to Carnesha, all right, 100 pounds. All right, these are true milestones. Individuals who have that amount of weight loss are individuals who have not just done something physically, but every part of themselves has been adjusted. Their mind, their body, their spirit, their habits, how they think, their motivation, in many instances, their friends, how they view themselves, how they view others, their purpose, things that they're working on, their discipline, their structure in their life. Every avenue, every element of life shifts. This is what the foundational element of the 40-day turn-up is. It's not a weight loss program, but it's a process teaching people how to live their life differently. Now, the reason why I call it the rebirth phase is because this is when you're reborn. This is when you can officially celebrate and say, I'm not who I used to be. A lot of folks celebrate too soon. They'll lose 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 pounds, and they'll gain it back. Many of you are watching me saying, yep, Dr. Joe, you're right. That was me. And the reason why I know that is because you haven't matriculated to this point of rebirth. I'm to the point now to where I would die before I go back to the obese version of myself. I've been doing this too long, and I have a taste of the sweet nectar of rebirth. I love how my lifestyle makes me feel emotionally, how it makes me feel driven, how it allows me to impact the lives of other people, how it helps me to become more disciplined, and how I'm looking at my eating habits as not just a way to pleasure myself, but a relationship with food in order to optimize my physical existence and manifestations in order that I can do the spiritual callings that God has called me to do. You see, this temple is nothing more than a shell that allows my true self, my spirit, to have this humanistic experience. So I've got to care for it in order to maximize my divine purpose. And it's not until I get to the rebirth phase of my existence that this can even happen. Now, let me tell you the caveat, because I told you there was a caveat. The caveat in all of this are individuals who have gastric bypass surgery. Now, before I give you the caveat of this, let me say that this is no judgment. I know that there are many individuals who have lap band procedures, gastric bypass procedures, or any type of procedure like that in order to create weight loss. But see, what happens is when you have a physical type of surgery that is manipulating massive amounts of weight, you haven't authentically gone through these 4 phases. You have not, because what's required in these 4 phases is not the restriction of my stomach, but it's the changing of my mind, the changing of my thoughts, the changing of my habits, the changing of my surroundings, the changing of my discipline, the changing of my steadfastness, the changing of my ability to fail and not give up. It's character building when I'm matriculating authentically through phase 1, excitement, phase 2, turbulence, phase 3, red and blue pill, and I get to the point to where I'm reborn. This is the reason why I've worked with many people who've come through weight loss surgery and then they come through the 40-day turn-up and or the journey process. It's important because you have to change internally, and the weight loss is nothing more than a trophy that lets you have the understanding of what you've done spiritually. That's what it's all about. And these are the 4 phases of weight loss. And I want to shout out Carnesha, because Carnesha is officially reborn. Not just for the mere fact that she's lost 100 pounds, but I'm looking at 3 different things. Number 1, how she lost it. Now, for the last 6 months, she's been working with me. So I know what I've been teaching. I don't teach buying foods from a particular website or out of a store, or taking pills or getting injections or anything like that. Everything that I've taught the tens of thousands of people that have come through this process have been natural things that every person needs to be adhering to. The second reason why I know she's in the state of rebirth is when I look at how long she's been in the grind. She's been working with me for 6 months to lose that 60 pounds. But before she started with me, she dropped 30 to 40 pounds. So she's been in this for a year. So this hasn't been something that's been overnight. And the third thing is, I know she's been consistent and I know how she's been taught. I don't teach people shortcuts. I don't teach people how to get by this, drinking this, eating this, having this stimulant. No, it comes down to the basics. When you teach people the basics, you give them the accountability, and you create a foster of support in terms of what we call the village. People can thrive in a positive environment where people aren't hating on each other, but people are supporting on one another. And when you teach people and show them the way, and you correct them with love, all right, and not in judgment, and you be real with them. At the end of the day, sometimes I call people gut and butts because people need to understand, yes, many of you are gut and butts. And I don't say that to shame people who are large, but I like to say that because some folk who are large, nobody tells them that they're large, and they're sitting around here allowing their mind to make excuses as to why they remain large. Like, oh, I get it from my mama, or oh, it runs in my family. No, it does not. Hypertension does not run in your family. Bad habits that lead to hypertension runs in your family. No, diabetes does not run in your family. Bad habits that leads to diabetes runs in your family. Oh no, I'm not just big bone. No, it's bad habits that have led you to habits that aren't conducive for the life that you want to live. So I want to shout out Carnesha for another great transformational lab. I hope you've enjoyed this in the transformational lab. 4 phases of weight loss, all original content. If you feel that someone in your family members or your friends needs this information or needs this village, then share this with them. All right. I hope you all are well and blessed, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.